and this was in November of 2023. Amazing that this is still going on.
Palestinian people deserve human rights. Well, can you tell me why Hamas leaders are all billionaires living in high-rises in Qatar? The Palestinian people deserve human rights. You say that, and yet if you went into Gaza, your head would literally get chopped off. The Palestinian people deserve human rights. Well, can you tell me why Hamas doesn't accept the LGBTQ community? The Palestinian people deserve human rights. Well, maybe they should stop being so violent and ask a little bit nicer. Ever thought about that, Mr. Pro-Terrorism? The Palestinian people deserve human rights. Yeah, but the Palestinian people deserve human rights. Look, it's not that simple. The Palestinian people, it's like their fault. The Palestinian people deserve human rights. Yeah, but in 3000 BC, Palestinian people deserve human rights. You have to go back to the age of Hadrian, okay? You have to decipher the hieroglyphics in the Merneptah stele circa 1200 BC. Palestinian people deserve human rights.
Yeah, it does seem that but when I first saw that was already like a year ago. But like, I remember thinking that it is so ridiculous that that's actually what it's like.
Yeah,
like that it's just ridiculous.
And yet a year later, we're still dealing with this bullshit. And with that said, for the first time and hopefully not the last time, Rathbone, welcome to Generational Change.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So I have to ask you, did other people think you were Zach Galifianakis?
Oh, I get that nearly every day.
Okay. So yeah. It isn't. I'm not like. All right. That's okay. Yes. So where did you come from in doing this? Were you I don't know anything about you other than the guy who looks like Zach Galifianakis that does really good videos.
That's fair. I'm a music teacher for many years and a musician as well. And before I started talking about politics, I was making music that was political, and I just went into a phase of I just made a TikTok page and I started talking about politics, and it started to get engagement. And that was the first time I ever had any success with social media. So then October 7th happened, and it sort of fit in with my values and my principles. I thought it was because I've always talked about anti-imperialism, and I've always been very critical of U.S. foreign policy, especially, and domestic policy. And it just became something. I actually didn't really know that much about Israel-Palestine, other than I knew it was a settler colony. I didn't know any of the details, so I felt like, wow, this seems to be a really important thing that's happening, and I should really learn about it. So I picked up Norman Finkelstein's book on Gaza, and I was just floored. I mean, the first 3 pages that I read of it, I was just appalled, and I learned so much, just in his book than anything that I had learned, predictably from corporate media. But I wanted to take what I could do, which is communicate these ideas in a political satirical format, and try to teach Americans around me, because I feel like I come from a culture that's just really ignorant about the rest of the world. And
where are you?
I know these people, so I've went to school with them, I've grown up with them, so I know how they think, and I just feel like I could use my powers for good, so to speak. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do.
Where are you? I'm sorry, where are you located?
I'm originally from New Orleans. I actually just moved out to Los Angeles a couple weeks ago, really. Not even a month, I don't think.
Interesting.
That's funny. I'm actually over in Niceville, if you happen to know where that town is, in the panhandle of Florida.
Oh, okay. Niceville.
Yes,
it's called Niceville.
It's really called Niceville, and it's a nice town. And so basically, you hop on I-10 and you just go straight across, and it's
okay, all right, yeah, the Panhandle. That's really close. To New Orleans, where I'm from. So,
what we call it here is Floribama. That's the
Floribama. Yeah, of course. I I know Floribama very well.
You don't have the accent. You don't have that. You don't, because you say you didn't say Nolans. You know,
No,
like you sound like just like normal.
Yeah, I've been told that too. But if you get around, like if I get around my family, I'll start picking it back up, you know,
Right.
and my dad especially. But yeah, I didn't really, I don't know, I didn't really you know, I didn't really pick it up like my parents did, I guess.
Yeah. So I just want like the way that you do your videos, like the way you do it, it's in such a way that it's so not like the people who would be offended can't really be offended because it's like you're being called out by being offended by this and it's very tame and yet very, very good. So that's what's really cool, because I think in doing it in that way, when it's not so obviously like in your face,
Right.
that's how you don't end up getting shadow banned. That's how you don't end up getting like, you know, all those things, but yet you could still make the point. Like I think it's really good.
Well, I appreciate that. And, you know, people, there's a whole spectrum of how people feel about it. I mean, I get a lot of comments one way or the other, but yeah, you know, I think satire is a useful tool, you know, to really get people to think and put the ideas out effectively into people's minds. So
have you been called anti-Semite yet?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Okay, good. Welcome.
Welcome to the club.
Join the club. Yeah, right. I was actually, you know, I'm upset that I didn't even make the top 10 from the I'm
annoyed about that Candace Owens thing.
Candace worked really hard for that award, man. I mean,
yeah.
She really did.
I don't understand it. I can't believe it. Who was in contention? Was Norman Finkelstein? Was Abby Martin? Like, there's some really good picks.
Yeah,
you got Ta-Nehisi Coates. Like, there's some other people in the mix here.
They left out a lot of good people, and yeah,
I know.
I was one of them. Okay, I was offended.
I feel like that too, right? Like a little bit. I feel like Candace Owens gets anti-Semite of the year. I was like, that's just so wrong. She's never been on the right team until now. Like she's just such a Johnny come lately to like anything resembling the right side of anything.
I think the only reason why Owens is where she is at this point is because there probably was a conversation with her and Ben Shapiro, and she, as a black woman, finally remembered that she was a black woman in Ben Shapiro's presence, and he probably laced it in such a bigoted way that even she couldn't defend it. It's like, oh God, this guy's fucking crazy. Right. And he is crazy. Like Ben Shapiro was one of the absolute worst scum suckers in the entire independent media.
Are you suggesting that
I'm an anti-Semite, so I could say whatever I want. You know,
I'm a self-loathing Jew. Yeah. But are you suggesting that Zios are bigots?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And there's quite the cross. Now that's what I call intersectionality.
That's it. And an understatement too. Just a little bit of a bigot.
What's your experience with that? Like, I grew up in South Florida in Jewville. I mean, I grew up thinking everybody was basically Jewish. That was just how it was. And it was very pro-Israel. And so I grew up with that. Yeah. And so my story is kind of different than a lot of people. Like New Orleans, although there's definitely New Orleans Jews. I know some.
Absolutely. But I think New Orleans is primarily, oddly enough, even though it's deep in the heart of Southland, it's Catholic, and I grew up Catholic. Right. I take the George Carlin joke, which is I was Catholic until I reached the age of reason, around 7 or 8.
Right.
Because I never could understand. I mean, my dad was very much like had to bring us to church every Sunday, and it rubbed me the wrong way, and I sort of didn't really care too much for religion. But not that and I have to remind people, it doesn't nobody cares about religion. I mean, nobody cares about your religion. We care about ethnic cleansing. People care about religion. I'm not saying that people don't care about religion. I'm just saying when it comes to this, like to make this whole thing, this whole genocide about religion, it's disingenuous, and it's a lie. So, I mean, to switch the conversation to be about that, I always try to bring it back. It's like nothing to do with all this ideology, you know.
It's fundamentally extremely anti-Semitic, actually.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, this concept, because it's inextricably like wanting to link Judaism with this, you know, white settler colony project.
Yeah.
And it's very intentional. And it's a place where the secular white, like imperialist Jews, I mean, they're Jews, but they're secular. They don't really care. Basically merge together with Christian evangelicals and other forms of anti-Semites who they would otherwise hate because they both support the same thing. And yet that doesn't give them pause. But then there's no problem for those people who affiliate with someone like John Hagee and other complete anti-Semites. And those people are okay. But we're the anti-Semites. So it's just very I find the whole thing of like their whole mindset to be, and it's very anti-Jewish.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Jen has brought up time and again that the experience of how I would say indoctrinating the Zionist movement is, particularly in South Florida and in New York City, Brooklyn in particular, is a lot different than the West Coast. What's been your experience? Because obviously Los Angeles is one of the biggest Jewish populations in the country. What has been sort of the fervor on the ground there? Do you get the sense that there is an understanding of what's really going on right now, or do you get the sense that you're kind of amongst a lot of Zionists as well?
You know, and I just got here, and it's not like I've been going out on the town, getting the pulse of everyone here. But there's a Palestinian flag flying right outside, like in the building next door, like it's big, and I would like to think so. Okay, I would like to think that the conversation has, the people here that are getting it. But as far as like personal interactions, I mean, unfortunately, I think that there probably is still a strong Zionist element in all of the United States. I mean, I was in Miami recently, and they are very much pro-Zionism, and it's like Zionism central, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't see that, I guess, and maybe it's because of the sprawl here, and I'm just downtown, and but. It's not like I'm living in Hollywood or any like pro-Zionist communities, I guess, but I think it's not so. In Miami you could definitely feel it, and here I don't think I feel it as much.